Now, I see the Ocean Oracle, and then you have another book over here called Ocean Wisdom, Lessons from the Seashell Kingdom. Is that more of the same?
What happened is, this is 200 shells. Once this was published, even sort of before it was published, they started just teaching me more and more. And I ended up also teaching online, and now I had the whole internet access and learned so much that I just thought, you know, it's a shame because I could only do maybe a paragraph or so devoted to each of these shells, and I wanted to expand upon that. So this is about 50 shells with much more information on each. And then it took me into a new realm because shells, for people who work with energy and crystals, shells are crystals. They're just from the animal kingdom. They're calcium carbonate. And so everything that you can think of that applies to crystals as far as benefits for mind, body, spirit, also applies to the shells. And they started showing me how they can be used as energy work.
They started showing you, the shells started
The
showing
shells started giving me suggestions based on what I knew about the animals. This was my science background. I was so immersed in science that when I first started doing readings, I only spoke about shells that I knew the behavior of the animal or how it interacted with humans throughout history, so no one had to take my word for anything. As I became more comfortable with seeing time after time how this was benefiting people and how, I mean, there were tears sometimes of the epiphanies of having these readings, I got more confident to say, well, what else is there about this shell that I can't find any information on? And I started working with meditating and trying to learn about them that way. And that led to a whole nother journey here where they are teaching me, and hopefully I will be able to share with everyone. It was a 4-year journey. But in that 4-year journey, I learned so much, and now when I teach online, I share that with my students. And some of the stories may seem unbelievable, but if you progress from step to step to step, it's a 45-week course. By the time I'm in those final stages, the 30 to 40 weeks, they've built such confidence in everything else I've been telling them that they're willing to entertain the possibility of these other things, and so that helps expand and grow.
So when we talked before on the air, you were not teaching at that time.
No, I was not.
You've just been blossoming, haven't you? For
I
these
am having a
past 6-7
wonderful
years.
time, yes.
Tell us about that one, shall
Oh, okay. There's a touching story with that. That's called a helmet conch. And if people could imagine, I think they were called helmet conchs because they look like the helmets of ancient warriors worn into battle. And it meant someone willing to fight for you. Much later, when I was doing all my reading, I came across an actual account, and it's in here, of 3 helmet conchs, and 2 were in the correct position they need to be to get around in the ocean, but one, actually the way you're seeing this, that would not at all survive because he's on his side.
Okay.
He needs to be flat to get around.
Where we see the opening here.
The way you see the opening, he'd be exposed to predators.
Right.
And he can't crawl around. And one was in peril like that. The other 2 were in the proper position. And the person telling the story had his camera. He witnessed the 2 come over, dig a furrow in the sand like little bulldozers to loosen him up, come around behind, climb up, topple him over, and save him.
Oh my goodness.
These are supposed to be lowly invertebrates. They cared someone was in trouble, so they had compassion, and they had the intelligence to figure out a plan to save him and carry it out together, and they did.
Oh,
and there's photographs of that in there so
okay.
that people can see, you know, the photographic evidence.